Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Walcot House. We have a final show for you this evening with a wonderful friend of Bath Comedy Festival for many years. Please put your hands together and give a rapturous round of applause as you welcome to the stage Mr. Alan Francis.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. How are you?
All right.
You've got a thing in your knee?
Yeah, a bit.
What's the story?
A bit, you know.
It hurts?
Yeah.
Okay. What can we do about that?
Well, what I generally do is just mow carp. And
Just carp and mow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you've started doing that quite well. Yeah. Bit of carping and moaning right from the off.
Yeah.
I've actually got a sore back, and what pisses me off about my sore back is I got it just by picking up a sock. You know, it's like I've got to that age now where just picking up a sock is a dangerous thing to do, you know. What am I going to do with this water? I'm going to put it here next to your wine, is that all right?
Aye.
Aye. That's good. Was that a Scottish?
Just natural.
Just natural. Just natural. That's good. So, how? What about you gentlemen? Are you local, Bath?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice to see you.
He's not.
Oh, he's not. Where are you from, sir?
Our brothers.
Oh, you're brothers. Actually, yeah. Oh, you're right. You do. There is a definite resemblance. Yeah. Yeah. And one of you is better looking than the other one. No, he got the thank you in first. Yeah. Thank you very much. I am better looking. I'm moving this out of the way in case anybody has any trouble seeing me or anything. Your brothers, you're from Bath, and you're where did you move to?
I live in Zurich now. There you go.
Are you a banker?
No, I'm not one of them.
No, not one of them. Yeah. That's good. That's that's a polite way of describing bankers, isn't it? One of them. Yeah. Well, banker is certainly rhyming slang. Yes. I thought you meant one of them was. I was thinking, what them? Men. That's cool. And so, what do you do in Zurich?
Even more boring is insurance.
Even more boring than banking?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Insurance is, don't the Italian mafia call it insurance, don't they? A bit of insurance. We're worried about your health. Yeah. All that sort of thing. So, and are you together? Are you all a group?
Yeah, big family.
Oh, yeah, big happy? Yeah. You seem, happy. That's good. And it's lovely to be here. Mine's out. This is. I don't know if anybody even noticed the title of this show. Called Fat Cyborg. Now, I bet everybody in this room is actually not everybody's fat. I'm the fat one, but everybody is a cyborg. Because you all got. Is there anybody here who doesn't have a mobile phone? Okay, doesn't have, because it's just getting to that stage now where the robots are, and this stuff with AI recently. They are taking over, and I am a cyborg. I'm a fat cyborg. And I've got to that. I've actually got to that stage of fatness now where I'll soon be joining that legion of men for whom the tracksuit bottom has nothing to do with keeping fit, and everything to do with the elasticated waistband, worn not so much for jogging as easy access to itching balls. No, when you get middle age, there's something you think in your mind, or I do, that I look the same as I did when I was younger. And it can be quite a shock to realise that you don't. It can be a shock. I think it was Leo Tolstoy who said, there is no greater shock to a man than becoming a bitter middle-aged fat bastard. And I might be paraphrasing him slightly. But it's true. The other day I was getting out of the bath and I caught sight of myself through the steam like a Buddha. emerging from the water. I thought, right, that's it. You've really got to lose this mirror. That's got to go. You know, I mean, because it is a shock. You know, when I see fat kids, I think you're doing the right thing. You're preparing. You know, a fat kid is insuring themselves against that shock. You know, and the fat kid gets to 50 years old, they're just like, well, still a fat cunt. You know, doesn't matter. Whereas, you know, it can be a terrible shock. It's so sort of like the you know, the society we live in. It just sort of reinforces. I mean, it's Easter at the moment. I mean, everybody, have you eaten a lot of chocolate? No. Well, you a little bit. Oh, that's good. What about you guys? Have you had any? Yeah, a little bit. Do you eat a lot of chocolate generally, or do you just? Yeah, you do. Yeah. Are you fairly addicted to it? Do you think?
Trying for addiction.
Yeah, but you like it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is everywhere. It's so hard to sort of, you know. I mean, I tried to be good. Like the other day, I was driving in the car, and I thought, well, you know, I wanted something to eat. I went into a service station. I thought, I'll get an apple, and in a service station, £1.90 for an apple. 2 Snickers Duo, £1. I mean, you've got to be an idiot to get the apple, really. I mean, you've got to be you know, a sub-Saharan African child would be like, why are you buying the apple? You know, have you any idea how much energy you can get from that Snickers Duo? If I'm working in the fields all day and you're buying a fucking apple? You know, so I stood in solidarity with the sub-Saharan African child and got 2 Snickers Duo for £1, you know. But it's just foisted on you, though, you know. It's like W.H. Smith, you know, they're always, W.H. Smith, they're always sort of trying to sell you confectionery and stuff at the till when you buy other stuff. Like I was buying a book in W.H. Smith, I went up to the counter to pay for the book, and the guy's like, would you like to buy a family-sized bar of chocolate with that? For £1. And I showed him the book, and I said, what, with how to lose 2 stone in 3 months? And he was like, yeah. I said, I'll tell you what, put the book back, I'll take 4 bars. Anyway, so I kind of, you know, just thought, you know, I wanted to just sort of talk about our relationship with, or my relationship with kind of the world that we live in, really, and sort of technology and stuff like that. And I mean, is anybody here good with computers? Anybody good with them? Okay. Is that just an indifference reaction, or nobody is good with them? I mean, are you, sir? Are you good with them?
No, I'm so-so.
You're so-so?
Yeah, and so-so on the indifference versus.
You're so-so on the indifference?
More so that.
You're more so on the indifference than on the...
More so, so-so.
More so-so.
On committing to indifference or not.
Okay, that's good. You're more so-so on the indifference.
Right.
I like that. You know, I think, do you mind if I borrow that?
Please.
Yeah, more so-so.
Expect credits. I'll give you my details afterwards.
Yeah, you know, we can swap.
Figure out a contract.
Yeah, yeah. Are you quite sort of up on sort of social media and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I started. Have you heard of Mastodon?
Mastodon. Yeah. What you started that?
I wish.
Oh no, I was going to say.
That's like my level of advanced computer technology.
Right.
Using alternative social media platforms.
Okay. Okay, alternative social media. So Donald Trump type stuff.
No.
No.
I would call that opposite of.
Oh, the opposite.
my intentions,
Yeah. Good. Good. Where are you from, sir?
I'd like to consider myself English, but I grew up in so-called Canada.
In so-called Canada.
Yeah.
What's so-called Canada? Is that something different from cold Canada?
Lots of indigenous names.
Oh, okay, oh, that's good. Yeah, that's it. That is good. So you're aware of the indigenous names of Canada?
Not all of them.
No.
There were a lot, but
Yeah.
yeah. The ones that are still that haven't been totally
Eradicated by
Exactly.
European bastards.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's it. That's very. So you're an alert person.
I try to be.
You're woke.
As much as that has some negative connotations and some.
No. No, I'm woke as well. I mean, woke it means awake, doesn't it? To be wake, to be woke.
Sure.
Yeah. And the opposite of woke is to be asleep. You know, like Nigel Farage. You know,
Yeah.
he's the opposite of woke. He's asleep. Asleep to prejudice, asleep to that. But yeah, well, that's cool. I'm glad. I'm glad that. Oh, and what are some of the indigenous names for Canada?
Well, I mean, you have to remember that there's lots of different.
Yeah, I don't know that. Yeah.
I mean, I
Just
guess
one.
the common translated to English name for the continent is Turtle Island.
Wow,
Yeah.
Turtle Island. It's because there's a lot of turtles there.
I think it has something to do with the shape.
Oh, the shape. Wow, it looks like a turtle. Oh, that's cool. And so, and what's your name?
Renee.
Renee. French.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Renee. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's great to have someone who's so in touch with because the thing is that the world has been so repressed, hasn't it, by religious dogma and things like that, especially the Europeans over the years. And I always kind of think that. I mean, I'm Scottish myself. Any Scottish people in? Okay. Oh, well, yes. No, you said "I," didn't you, in a Scottish accent? Yeah, but are you Scottish?
Yes.
You are.
Aye.
Aye. Whereabouts in Scotland are you from?
Well, I was born down here, got Scottish parents up there.
Yeah, you've got Scottish parents up there. Are they still up there?
One of them's just behind me.
Cool. How are you doing, sir?
Okay, up to now.
Oh no, you do. You have got the lovely. That's a very Scottish, okay, up to now. Yeah. So once you started talking, that was it, really. All went downhill from there. Oh, that's good. Yeah. No, I'm Scottish, and I was brought up in the. Were you religious at all? No. The Church of Scotland is something a bit depressing, is what I'd say. I mean, I was brought up in the Church of Scotland. I mean, I think if I'd gone to a happy, clappy kind of tambourine bashing, uplifting kind of thing, I would have been more religious now. But the Church of Scotland is just misery on a weekly basis. It's just every 7 days, Sunday. I mean, I just remember going to the church. My mother used to drag me, and you'd hear that noise from the organ. That sort of, and it was always such a depressing sound. I mean, you never came away from the church thinking, I just can't get that tune out of my head. It's my feet just won't stop me. It's just this unbelievable kind of. And you get to the church, and there's like a Wissendal bug playing the organ, And there's no discernible sort of musical talent going on there. A tortoise walking across the organ keys would be no worse. You could just have a little Cub Scout whose job is just to turn the tortoise round when it gets to the end of the keyboard, And it's just like this unbelievable. Of course, on a Sunday morning, the day after the heaviest drinking night of the week, there's that added thing of the congregation all being really badly hungover. I always remember they had a guy called the Beadle. Do you know what a Beadle is, sir? The Beadle is a guy whose job is to bring out the Bible at the church. And he'd come out, with his huge tome and look at everybody, disgusted that they're sinning. And he would go into the pulpit and he'd open this tome at a fire and brimstone page and go back into his little bothy at the back. And then the minister would come out. Now, he wasn't hungover. He was still pissed. He would stagger up the nave of the church into the pulpit and enthuse everyone into a religious fervour, Let us celebrate Jesus Christ's boundless joy. Let us lose ourselves into the ecstasy of the love of Christ. And everyone's hangover would just go poof. Just get worse, because that's the thing, it's just so uninspiring. I mean, you couldn't imagine the Church of Scotland getting a holy war together, inspiring the faithful to destroy the infidel, We're looking for several volunteers prepared to strap high explosive about their person and blow themselves to kingdom come. We can offer no virgins in paradise. We do, however, have a rather large woman named Brenda, who I'm told has suction like a Dyson. All interested parties to the Beatles' bothy to sign up. It is weird. I mean, that whole thing of the Islamic fundamentalists as well, because in the 16th century, the Scottish church was stopping people, learning things, stopping people doing things. Now we've got the Taliban, of course, in Afghanistan who are doing that. They've even, recently, they're stopping women eating outside. Have you seen this? No? It was in today's paper that women eating outside in restaurants, the Taliban have made it illegal. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, it is hard to get your head around. The people who want to destroy life on earth at the moment so much for some kind of reward in heaven. And their idea of a reward in heaven seems so, the whole concept of 72 virgins, rivers of wine. I mean, a river of wine. I mean, that's a bit over the top, isn't it? I mean, what are you supposed to do? Just put your head in the river and open your mouth like a basking shark, Just get absolutely, Côte de Rhône, So, I mean, the idea of having a small glass of wine is some sort of horrendous sin and effrontery, And the 72 virgins, they never hear anything from the virgin's point of view. It's like, who are these virgins? We never hear. I mean, are they up for this? Are they on a bus to Para? We're all on a bus to Para. They're all looking forward to it. I mean, I tell you, any of those suicide bombers, they better bloody hope that none of those virgins are any of their victims. That would be the angriest hand job they'd ever had. That would be one toothy blowjob, I think. But it is. It's. They put. But we were the same in the Christians in the 16th century. In that period, we suppressed thought. We suppressed advanced thinking. They put Galileo in prison. They put Galileo in prison because he suggested that the sun was the centre of the solar system and the Earth was a planet in orbit around it. They put him in prison for that. I was thinking it must have been really hard for Galileo in prison. Imagine in the exercise yard. There's all these hardened criminals there. What are you in for, John? Armed robbery. Trev. I murdered my wife. Del Boy. Assault and battery. Galileo. Well, I put forward the hypothesis that we live in a heliocentric solar system. Fucking nonsense. Turn him over, lads. And it must have been tough. Must have been tough for Galileo. But people like him are the pioneers that have got us this amazing world we live in now with all the technology and now we have this AI and robots that are threatening to take all our jobs. I mean, I don't get on with robots at all. Does anybody here have a good relationship with robots? Renee, do you get on with them? Oh no, you've already said, haven't you?
So.
You have a so-so relationship with the...
At best.
At best, yeah. Because they are irritating. I mean, even like the self-service checkout in the supermarket, I kind of find that... I don't like their tone. I don't like the way they speak to me, you know. I've spent 50 quid in Morrison's, I'm packing my bag, and this thing's going, please take your items. I'm like, fuck you! I've just spent 50 quid. Do you mind if I just pack my bag? Please take your items. Oi! I don't like your tone, I don't like the way you're speaking to me. Eventually I actually did get some humour in interaction. Security guard. I was removed from the shop. And I had been drinking, but you don't get that when you're interacting with a real shopkeeper. They don't, you don't go into a shop, buy a nice bottle of wine or something, an off license. The guy's like, approval needed. He can see I'm an old fat git. No approval needed at all. But yeah, I mean, I find when I phone up companies as well, like British Gas, I phone them up and a robot answers the phone. And it's like, they're like, if you want to pay your bill, press 1. I'm like, that's the first thing they go for. You pay your bill. I'm phoning up to complain about the size of my bill. If you want cover for gas appliances, press 2. They don't have my query, If you've been given an outrageous bill and think we're taking the piss, press 5. They don't have that. So you just press for anything else, For anything else, press 9. And then you're put on hold. And you hear like Vivaldi's Four Seasons. It's always that, isn't it? And it's a terrible version of it. I mean, it's a good version, but it's a very bad recording. There's no top. You can't hear the cellos. Vivaldi would be horrified. Imagine Vivaldi would be like, is that what he envisaged? When he's wandering round Renaissance Italy, saying, I dream that one day my music will be heard in call waiting systems by angry customers. He must be really pissed off about it. He must be out there in heaven saying to Mozart, they're listening to my music in call waiting systems, and Mozart's like, you're lucky, mate, they listen to mine in elevators. They are Philistines. And eventually you get through to another computer, key in your account number followed by the hash key. So I'm like, I can't find the account number. I'm trying to find the damn thing, It's like, sorry, I didn't get that. They're so impatient. Sorry, I didn't get that. Key in the account number. And then they're like, we are putting you through to our dedicated customer service team. And I always think, dedicated? I used to work in a call center. We weren't dedicated. I don't think, turning up late and going for a spliff at lunchtime showed a lot of dedication, But they sort of said, our dedicated customer service team, they're all there like the SAS. Do you want to take a coffee break, John? No, I'm dedicated. I'm dedicated to the customers. I'm not going to leave my post. And then you get through to them, you've got the Vivaldi, and then Trevor comes on. All right, Trevor, British Gas. What do you want? And by then you're just like, Trevor, put the robot back on. I'd rather speak to the robot. They are. It is strange, the whole thing. I mean, I kind of, I'm useless with computers. I try to print things. I can never get a printer to work. Anybody here have that experience? Yeah. Well, for a long time. We've had printers for a long time now, haven't we? And they still can never work. I mean, in my building where I live, there's been some antisocial behaviour. There was a kid. I say a kid, he's 18. I suppose that's a kid to me. He's been doing antisocial behaviour, and he's been putting dog shit into an old lady's letterbox, which I think you'll agree is pretty antisocial. Especially when you get the old lady to sign for it. No, it's pretty poor. It's terrible stuff. So he's, him and his mates, he's been given an ASBO, which I don't think is much of a punishment, because it just means girls fancy him. It's like sentencing someone to fellatio, to hand jobs in the car park. It's not much of a deterrent, really. I mean, they should put a turd on his head. You know, oh, I really love you, Darren, but it's just the stench of the turd. I've got to keep away. Anyway, I've been having to put notices up in the, you know, because I want to, because he's been coming in and smoking spliffs and all that. And not that I'm against that. I used to take drugs. I mean, when I used to be slim, right? I was into smack and stuff. You don't see many fat smackheads. You know, you don't see a smackhead on a mobility scooter going around Morrison's, you know, complaining that they've moved the fucking family-sized bags of crisps again. You know, they've moved them again. Fucking bastards. You see that? I used to take drugs. I was cool at one time. I used to go on legalised cannabis marches. They were always very poorly attended. It's very difficult to drum up enthusiasm amongst cannabis smokers. They're often organised too early in the day, you know. Like the night before, people are like, hey, are you going to the rally tomorrow? Yes, John, we're going to the rally. Fucking imagine. What time do you mean at the bus stop? Well, we've got to meet early, John. We've got to go through to Glasgow, you know. 7 o'clock. We'll enjoy the day. Yeah. I mean, I remember going to Bellahouston Park, Glasgow. Legalised cannabis rally. The guy had put a banner up, you know. I said to him, "You spelt rally wrong." He said, "Oh, I copied it off the bike." We're standing there in the drizzle. What do we want? The guy next to me wanted a vegetable samosa. The entire demonstration ended up in an Asian off license. Yeah. Got a bag of Bombay mix out of it. But it is weird, like, you know, the whole thing with drugs, you know, like what drugs are legal, what are illegal. I mean, we're allowed to drink, aren't we? I mean, that's quite bad for you, isn't it, drinking? But smoking spliff, a lot of people think is great. And politicians are such hypocrites about it. I mean, I remember Scottish Parliament, a guy done for doing drugs, and his excuse was he experimented with it. You know, when I was at university, I experimented with drugs. I was thinking, what do you mean you experimented with it? Well, you were in some laboratory somewhere with a lab coat on, you know. I have in my hand a small rock of crack cocaine, to which I'm going to apply the flame of a Bunsen burner. The fumes given off I'm going to inhale furiously through a Perspex tube. My assistant Wilson, there's a guy there with a clipboard. My assistant Wilson will make fastidious notations. It's a very important experiment. I take the Bunsen burner and apply it to the rock of crack, and then inhale furiously through the tube. Wilson, please. Fastidious notations. Wilson. I'm going to have another bang on that. It's fucking good shit. I think you just spell it C-U-N-T-E-D. Just write that across the whole body. It is ridiculous, isn't it? Now, that excuse experimented. There was a Tory MP who had a homosexual affair when they were at college, and he said, well, when I was at college, I experimented with homosexuality. You know, what's all that about, you know? For my next experiment, I would like to ask this young man to remove his short trousers while I rub a soapy lather into the V of his groin. Wilson, please, fastidious note. Yeah, so anyway, I'm trying to print out this thing. You know, I mean, you know, it's funny. I got on the computer and I set up the little notice. All it was saying is, please remember to shut the front door. That's all. Because, as I said, Nige has been coming in. That's his name now. He's been coming in with mates, smoking spliffs and stubbing them out on the carpet. It's antisocial. And he doesn't really know what antisocial means, you know. It's too posh a word for him. You know, antisocial, it's kind of sort of the word that Terry Thomas might have said. I've been in your boudoir for nearly an hour and haven't properly introduced myself. How terribly antisocial of me, you know. Nige doesn't. He doesn't understand that. So anyway, I get my mouse on and put it in the box that says print. Because, I mean, that's the extent of my knowledge of computers, is, you know, you put it in the box that says print, you know, and then you press print. And then I look at the printer. You know, for about the first 8 or 10 seconds, there's actually hope, isn't there? You think, you know, it's going to work. And then that hope fades. And you think, oh, God. So, not knowing anything about computers, I do the only thing I know how to do, and that's press print again. Print. Print, print, print. It doesn't matter how hard you press it either. If it's working, it's working. You know, I'm pressing it really hard. You know, print, print, print. You know, I'm fisting the mouse. Well, not fisting it, but I'm hitting the mouse. Really hard. You know, print, 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 print. And then eventually, it just bursts into life and starts working. No explanation. That's what frustrates me about printers. You know, I mean, they've got one job to do. It's like if you went into a restaurant, you said to the waiter, you know, could I have a coffee, please? He's like, any chance of a coffee? A coffee? A coffee? A coffee, a coffee, a coffee? A coffee, a coffee, a coffee, and then suddenly he just bursts into life. And he goes into the kitchen and he comes back with a tray with 27 coffees on it. So if anybody wants 26 notices reminding you to shut the door, they're in my bag. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, yes, I was going to... So, the banks. You don't work for a bank, do you? Insurance. Because I was just thinking about the banks, you know, that when they advertise for loans, they always have the terms and conditions, and they always say that really quickly, don't they? On the advert. It's like the small print, or a radio advert. They'll be like, you know, if you don't keep up with the payments, your home may be a risk, and it's really, really quick, you know. And you're not quite sure what they're saying, you know. And it's like, you know, if you don't keep up with your payments, your home may be a risk, you won't put your balls in a bite. What? I was thinking it's quite odd that the banks do that they, you know, so in a way, it's a more honest loan than a loan from a bank, isn't it? It's like, you know, no fees, no messing about, just violence. That's all it is, just violence. You know. But you know, but the banks, they are such, they are criminals in themselves. I mean, I don't know. Does anybody here bank with the HSBC bank? You don't. You said that in a way like. Is that? No, you didn't say anything. No. Oh, somebody else said. Yeah. No, they are. They're criminals, and they launder money for drugs barons and stuff. You know, they. You know, and they're so annoying because they phone me up at home. I mean, I still have a landline telephone. I don't know if anybody here has. You don't look as if you do. You probably don't. Do you have a landline? No, you do. Does anyone phone you on it?
Scams.
Scams. That's what it is, isn't it? I mean, I remember when we got the phone when I was a kid. You know, it was an amazing thing. You know, it made my mother talk posh. The phone. My mother, you know, is a working class Scottish woman. When she answered the phone, she changed her accent. She would go, Ravelston 5398. Hello. Because you had to say that when you answered the phone in those days. You had to give your exchange and your number. No, but even if she was arguing with my father, she'd be like, it's a disgrace. Down in the pub all the time. There's nothing in that fridge and you're down in the fucking pub and it's... Ravelston 5398. It made a posh, but... And now I still have a landline phone, but as you say, no one rings me. I do get this call centre. I don't know what the scam is. I think they're an Indian call centre. Although the guy calls himself Godfrey. He goes, hello, this is Godfrey. I'm like, oh, hi, Godfrey. And he's trying to get my bank details or something. But his thing is, you have computer in your house. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, that is, it's not much of a long shot, really. Most people have computers. I mean, I suppose if you were in the 1950s, you'd have to phone Alan Turing to find someone with a computer in their house. But now, most people do. You have computer in your house. But I worked out a way of dealing with him because my father, who is deaf, he's not officially deaf. He's just can't hear. He doesn't know how to do all the stuff that deaf people do, and he won't wear a hearing aid. He just goes, eh! That's it. That's what he does. He doesn't make any effort to try and hear. So if you say to him, how are you? You all right? He's like, eh! You're like, no. Did you have a nice day? Eh? I've not been paid. No. Did you enjoy yourself? Eh? Did you enjoy yourself? I've been on the shelf since your mother died. For fuck's sake, don't swear, son. He hears that. But that was how I dealt with the Godfrey, because he phoned up. He was like, hello, you have computer in your house. I'm like, eh? A mouse. They're like, no. Computer. What, in the future? You saying I'm going to have a mouse in the future? Is that what you're telling me? No, this is Microsoft. What? In the loft. In the future, in the loft. No, this is Microsoft Windows. I've had the Windows done, son. They ended up hanging up on me. Fuck you, you deaf old Scottish bastard. And, they haven't phoned back. It's worked. But yeah, but the other people who phone me are the HSBC. They phone me up. Bunch of criminals. I answer the phone, Hi. And the guy's like, is Alan Francis there? I'm like, yeah. He says, John here from HSBC. I'm like, hi, John. How are you doing? That always freaks him out because nobody asks him that. Because he's not sure how he's doing. So it's a trick question, really. He's just like, well, I just want to talk about your current account. I'm like, okay, let's do that then. He said, all right, do you mind if we just go through some security questions? I'm like, well, hold on a minute. You phone me. I know who I am. What do you want? He said, oh, I'm sorry, I can't continue the call unless we go through some security questions. I'm like, well, how did you get this number? He said, well, you're one of our customers. What, so my number is on a computer screen next to my name? Yeah. And you dialed that number and asked if it was me? Yeah. Well, it is me. What do you want? He's like, I'm sorry, I can't continue the call unless we go through some security questions. I'm like, well, who are you? He said, well, I'm John from HSBC. I said, yeah, but I don't know that, do I? I don't know you're John from HSBC. Do you mind if I take you through some security questions? He's like, what are you talking about? I said, all right, then what is the date of birth of HSBC? He said, I don't know. I said, well, I'll tell you. It was 1839. It was founded to fund the Opium War, which was waged against the Chinese in order to keep hundreds of thousands of Chinese peasants addicted to opium and boost British profits in the Far East. He hung up. But I know he'll phone me back because I owe HSBC a fuck of a lot of money. That's the thing. They're going to keep phoning. But yeah, oh God, my back is sore, like your knee. Nowhere really to put this apart from there. So yeah, I'm from Scotland, and I travel around the country quite a bit. Live in, anybody been to Scotland at all? Aye? Is that what you say when you go? Yeah. Aye. Okay. Right, okay. Okay. Well, it is amazing, isn't it, all the different accents we have in this country. I mean, it's like the Scottish, obviously, there is a kind of roughness, I think, of Scotland, you know, especially West Coast, Glasgow. You know, people swear quite a bit there. There was I was up there not so long ago, and there was a guy walking down the street with a bright canary-coloured tracksuit on, with loads of bling, sort of like this. And I just immediately couldn't look at him. Because if you catch someone like that's eye, it's very difficult to hide the fact that you think he looks like a complete fucking tosser. And if you're going to walk around Glasgow dressed like that, you're hard as fuck. And I was with a friend of mine, and we went into an off-license. I was going to buy some wine, and then we went to the office, and this guy comes in. And my friend had had a few drinks, he was a young woman, and she talked to this guy. This guy was like, and she said, "Oh, what wine would you recommend?" And he'd say, "Oh, you could do a lot worse than the Côte de fucking Rhône." I thought, God, I've not heard it called that before. You know, it's like just that classic Glaswegian thing of swearing as part of a sentence. You know, it's like, you know, I had a neighbour when I stayed in Glasgow a while back he would say things like, "I was watching that Holmes Under the Fucking Hammer." It's like, well, I don't think it's called that, Jim. But he didn't know he'd done it, you know. And because I was doing a show up there, he got into, you know, he was saying he was into Shakespeare. You know, me and the missus, we went to see The Taming of the fucking Shrew. And it's like, I mean, he was an extraordinary man, you know. Like, I mean, he, you know, for him, like a cunt was just a person. Not even necessarily a person he didn't like, it was a person he did like. You know? I've got a lot of time for that cunt, you know. See that cunt at the newsagent? He's fucking magic. And you get that in the West Coast of Scotland. Even ministers of the church. I mean, like, you know, I was at the fete on Saturday. I think some of you may have been there. And I just bought a ticket from the tombola when this little ginger cunt came up to me. Cute little freckly cunt, you know. You do get a lot of different accents around the country, and the north of England is... People do trust that accent, don't they, in the north of England? It's like Manchester. I was in Manchester. I love Manchester, but if you talk too quickly in Manchester, everyone starts dancing. It's like... They're very friendly there, though. They're like, "Yeah, all right, man, you know, it's fucking great. I'm telling you, man, I'm buzzing like a bee's wing, mate. I'm buzzing like a bee." I said to this guy, "Look, just concentrate on driving the bus, because we're nervous. I'm just coming up on an E, man. You're making me very nervous." But there is that sort of thing that it's true, like with things like banking. They will use northerners to advertise. They won't, for example, they would never use like a Cockney to advertise financial services. They'd use it'd be like Yorkshire Bank. Your money's safe with us. You never get a Cockney doing that, you know. "We'll take your money." "It's all right, we'll give you it back." People would be like, "Well, I don't think so." It's like you never get a newsreader. You never get a Cockney newsreader. You ever turn on BBC News 24, it's like, "The headlines. It's all gone off again." You know who. You know where. Well, the weatherman is never a Cockney, you know. You get weathermen from all over, northern weathermen. They're always very worried about the garden for some reason. It's going to be a bit nippy tonight, bit cold. Get them plants indoors. Get them under the duvet with you. Keep your trousers on, no need for that. Never get a Cockney weatherman. I think it's because the BBC think none of us would believe a word they'd say. Tomorrow, no word of a lie, sunshine. On my life, mate, it's not going to rain. On my children's lives, we have a great day out in the garden, little barbecue set, $4.99 each. Fucking bargain, mate, all right? I've got a warehouse full of the fuckers. But it is like, my boiler broke recently, and I was expecting, you know, stereotypically, I was expecting like a Cockney guy to come, or maybe a Scottish guy, or maybe a Scouser or someone, you know, come along, and it was a posh guy. I'm immediately prejudiced. I answer the door, they come to fix the boiler, and this guy goes, hello, I've come to fix the boiler. And I'm just immediately, what the fuck do you know about boilers? You never had your hands dirty in your life, you posh cunt. What the fuck, you don't know anything about boilers? Yes, you do a good job. Very good job. But it is that thing, you have different accents for different things, you know, like, you wouldn't want, like, if you're on an aeroplane, you'd shit yourself if the pilot came on and he was a Cockney, wouldn't you? If you're sitting in the aeroplane and the pilot came on, all right, it's Darren, your pilot. I've kicked the tyre, it's inflated. We're going to be on our way in a minute. As soon as I find a manual to see how the fucker works, we'll be on our way, you know. There's something about that sort of reassuring kind of, and this is Captain Martin Metcalf. I'll be flying you down to Tenerife today. It's like, oh, that's good. I'm glad about that. And they're so unpatronising. So they talk as if you know something about it, you know. Once we push back. Once we push back. We'll taxi to the northerly runway. I'm glad about that. I think the southerly runway would have been a mistake. I think he's done the right choice there. And then they give this sort of itinerary of the flight. My geography's not that great, but they talk to you as if you do know something about it. We'll make a starboard bank over the English Channel down towards the northern coast of France, the Bay of Biscay, then over the Iberian Peninsula, the west coast of Africa, before making our descent to the island of Tenerife. Oh, that's good. That's where we're going. That's what it says on the ticket there. I'm glad Tenerife was the last thing he said, because that's what it says on the ticket. We're going to Tenerife. I mean, bus drivers don't do that, do they? You don't get on a bus and they're like, we'll turn right at the lights, go along the high street for about 3/4 of a mile, past Poundland. Some of the older passengers will remember that used to be a Woolworths. Then take the left-hand fork at Capital Kebab. The weather where we're going, well, it's much the same as it is here, really. Pissing down. You get on the airplane, don't you? They always go, no smoking, please. No smoking flight. I mean, you haven't been able to smoke a fag on an airplane for 30 years. You know, I mean, it's just unbelievable. They still tell you, don't they? 30 years since you've been able to spark up. You know, and there are grandmothers in Sunderland who have never known smoking on aeroplanes. I mean, well, I suppose they feel, maybe Scottish guys would spark up. If you know, they'd just be like, oh, he hasn't said anything. Just spark up, Jim. Just skin up there, and just on that tray you can just skin up. He's not said nothing. You know. It's like, they always have to, I mean, what is the cut-off point for when something is illegal? They don't have to tell you about it anymore, you know. You never hear, no archery. No bear baiting, please, that is outlawed. No hair coursing. No bare knuckle boxing or prize fighting, please, that is illegal. made illegal by an Act of Parliament in 1770. It is still illegal, please do not do it. The toilets have been fitted with cockfighting detectors. Actually, on a flight to Amsterdam, we needed those. It wasn't so much fighting, really, it was more sparring, fencing. But you'll know you're in trouble, though, if they turn that no smoking sign out. Because that no smoking sign, I always think, it's a terrible waste of electricity. You've got that sign. And, we know we're not allowed to, and all the way through the flight. The seatbelt sign, that goes off. The no smoking sign, it stays on. I'm thinking, that's costing money, that. That's a waste of electricity, that. And in the future, people won't know what that sign means. They'll be looking at that going, archaeologists in the future will go, what did that mean? It's like a burning phallus, scored out. Do not set fire to the cock. No. But you know you're in trouble if that goes out on a flight. If the pilot comes on, this is Martin Metcalf, your pilot. You probably would have been better off with a Cockney, actually. I've made a complete arse of it. Completely fucked it up. The starboard engine is on fire. The port engine has actually completely fallen off the wing. And we are gliding helplessly and hopelessly towards the Atlas Mountains in North Africa and certain death. As a consequence, I've decided to turn off the no smoking sign. We've got plenty of fags and booze on board, and we're just going to get cunted. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for your kind attention. I do appreciate you coming out and watching live comedy. And I'd like to thank you. I'd like to please thank the people on the gnome, who is on the sound and lights, and thank Nick for organising the gig. And thank you very much for taking time out of your lives to listen to my incoherent rubbish. I appreciate it, I really do. Thank you very much.